Hello, friends. Today is December 12th, and our story today takes place in 1949. A woman we'll call Linda and her husband Herman, they owned a general store in town. Now, in those days, stores were not nearly as specialized as they are now, especially general stores. A general store would have appliances, toys, foodstuffs, sport equipment, yard tools, almost everything. And that was the kind of store that Linda and Herman owned. They had almost everything except for clothes. And as you can imagine, 1949, business was brisk during the Christmas season. And the Christmas season was long for them, extended hours. As a matter of fact, on Christmas Eve, their season officially ended at 11 p.m. They were there very late. Everyone was finally gone from the store. The inventory was incredibly depleted. Almost all of the toys were gone. Practically nothing was left. The layaway shelf, that was a concern for Linda because she didn't want anybody going into Christmas with their gifts stuck on the layaway shelf. And in this particular year, there was only one package left, but nobody had shown up to claim it. But beyond that, it had been a very good season. And as I mentioned, the inventory was depleted, but also Linda was depleted, and Herman was very depleted. He was exhausted. So 11 p.m., they closed up shop, and they went home to get some sleep to enjoy Christmas Day. And Christmas Day, as you know, for all parents, comes very early, and it was with them too. So they got up, they opened gifts. Linda and Herman, they had a 12-year-old son named Tom, and Tom got into the gifts and everything, but Tom was growing up. He was 12 now, and Linda noticed, of course, that with that certain changes came. And Tom had just asked for games and for clothes, not the childhood toys. And he was much more mature about going about the packages and opening them. And she was just she was a little disappointed. You know, that childish exuberance, it wasn't there. And so when he finished with the gifts, he actually asked to go to the neighbor's house to be with his friend. And so she was a little disappointed in that. Of course, she gave him leave to go do so. The weather was bad, but it was very close by. Herman was still tired from the Christmas season. So Herman, he went back to bed. And so here she is at 9 a.m. and she's doing breakfast dishes, kind of looking out the window as she does it. And she's just deflated. Her spirit is low. It's, kind of, well, Merry Christmas to me, right? And so she's doing it, but she's trying to talk herself into a better attitude. And she looks outside and there's snow and sleet coming down, and it's one of those icky mornings. And she's like, well, at least I don't have to go out to the store today. I don't have to go outside. I can stay in all day. But then something different happened to her, new to her experience, and she felt a strange urge to go out into that and go to the store. And she looks out at the window again, still sleeting and snowing, of course, but then she notices the icy sidewalks, and she's, no, I'm not going to go to the store. We're not going to go out. And she finishes the dishes, but that urge to go to the store would not leave her. And so she fought with herself for an hour, and then she finally, you know what? I'm going to go. So she woke her husband, just said, hey, I'm going to go to the store. And he didn't like the idea, but especially since she didn't seem to have a good reason why, but he didn't stop her. And so she puts on her wool coat, her galoshes, scarf, and gloves, gets ready to go out, and she goes out because it is really cold outside. The wind is cutting through. It's like these garments aren't even helping. So she shivered, and she walks the mile it takes to the store. And when the store comes into sight, she's brought up short because there's two children there. One's maybe 6-year-old, the other one's 9. Two little boys. They're in front of the store. They're huddled together, trying to keep warm on one another. And the older boy sees her and says, "Here she comes." See, he told the other child, I knew that she would come. And so Linda could see that the situation was not good. The boys were half frozen, right? They didn't have any hats. They weren't wearing gloves. And so the shoes were kind of almost falling apart. They were poorly dressed. Obviously didn't have a lot of money. And so she gets to that front door and she opens it and she gets the boys inside, gets them close to the heater, cranks up the heater, trying to get them warm, takes their little hands and starts rubbing them. And she begins speaking with them, and she learns that they've been there since 9 o'clock, when the store usually opened. And why? She asked, "Why are you here at Christmas Day at 9?" And the older boy said, "My little brother Jimmy, he's the 6-year-old beside him, said didn't get any Christmas, and we have these $3, and we want to buy some skates." Now that bothered Linda because she knew that the skates had been completely sold out a while ago, and almost with everything else, and she did not want to disappoint these boys who had been waiting and were obviously miserable and Jimmy didn't have a Christmas, all of these things, right? And so, but she had no choice, so she began telling them, "Hey, I don't have any toys and I don't have any skates. They were sold," right? And then her eyes went to that one package that was on the layaway shelf. She said, "Wait for just a minute." So they're by the heater, and she goes over to the layaway shelf. She's trying to recall what's in this package, but she can't. So she opens it up, and it's skates. So she offers up kind of that quick little prayer, "Oh, God, make this the right size," right? And she brings it over, and she takes out little Jimmy and takes off the shoes that are almost falling apart anyway, and she puts it on. It's a perfect fit. It's a perfect fit. And so the boys are really excited and everything. And so they bring out these $3 that, are obviously precious treasures to them and offer them to Linda. And Linda says, no, you don't need to pay for these. I want you to take this money and you need to go and get yourself a good pair of gloves. Right. And their smiles, it was just pure joy. And Linda's spirit, which had been low, ever since her son kind of had left for the neighbors and Herman went to bed, had just been really low. But now, it was soaring. The joy of the boys was contagious. And so they warmed up a little bit more and they left the store. And right before they parted ways, Linda mentioned, you're lucky that I came along when I did. You could have froze, right? And the older boy, he smiles knowingly. And he says this. He says, "I knew you would come. I asked Jesus to send you." Linda wrote these words later. She says, "The tingles in my spine weren't from the cold. God had planned this." And she walked home, her joy restored. And when she got there, the home had turned into a place of joy too. Herman's father and his sister had come. He'd gotten out of bed. Tom had taken his friend from his neighbor's house and actually brought him over. They had this wonderful Christmas dinner. And Linda reflected at the end of the night, writing it down. What made this Christmas wonderful wasn't all that happened, but that Jesus was there. Grace and peace to you, my friends. Take care, and don't forget the important things this season.